Last week, we talked about the Primos Dame, and I happened to upgrade it with some Jones bars. And these things and this bike are pretty stinking sweet. But this week, I want to talk about a bike that I showed you guys last week, but wasn't quite ready to review it. This week I am. The Primos Mono. This bike is one of those bikes that is really meant for somebody who wants something that's nostalgic. This thing goes back to the roots of biking in general. We're talking a bike that feels like it came out of the 90s, but is equipped with modern technology. So let's take a look at this $799 bike and go over what this thing is really about and what all comes with it. So Primos makes some really cool bikes and they've got them at an absolutely killer price. You got the Dame at $799 and now the Mono at $799. This video is going to focus on the Mono, but I want you guys to think about which model would work best for you, because ultimately that's what these bikes are about. They're about having fun and fitting your personality. And I think Primos is probably one of the most laid back style bike companies that I've ever seen. And I love that about their style. So on the Mono, this bike comes in two different colors and as of right now, two different sizes. You can get it in a blue color or this kind of pink color. And then you can also get it in a large, which is what this is, or you can get it in a medium. Talking with the Primos guys, I think that they are going to be coming out with some different frame sizes, but a medium and a large is what they came out with first. Now with the Mono, the whole thought process behind it is simplicity. They wanted a bike that was super simple, was going to be reliable, and you would never have to worry about it. You're not having to deal with suspension and maintenance on that. You're not having to deal with a complicated drivetrain, a very high-end brake setup. That's just really bare bones basic with quality parts that you know are going to last. This comes with the Advent X setup. So you've got an Advent X shifter, and then in the back you have an Advent X rear derailleur. Now you may notice my rear derailleur is a sword rear derailleur, and that's the same rear derailleur that is installed on the Dame. I'm pretty sure that I got an early production model of the Mono, and that's why I have a sword rear derailleur on here. So if you order one today, it should come with the Advent X rear derailleur, which is a little bit better rear derailleur in my opinion for this style of bike because it's got a clutch built in, one that you can turn on and turn off. Now taking a closer look at the drivetrain, it's got a 40-tooth chainring up front, and this has 170 mil crank arms. I think that's a pretty ideal size to fit a lot of people. And then on the back, you have an 11-tooth as your smallest gear, all the way up to a 48-tooth. This is going to be a 10-speed setup. One of the nice things that I like about 10-speed setups is they're super easy to dial in and get that precise shifting. Unlike some of the 11 or 12 speeds, they can be a little bit more finicky, but the 10 speeds are super reliable. Now the bike is actually made out of chromoly steel. So this is technically a steel bike. And you always hear those people talking about, man, steel is real. And let me tell you, this bike definitely gets really spicy whenever you take it out on the trail. Not having a suspension fork up front, it really isn't made for some gnarly stuff, but it is made for some street riding, gravel riding, and some light trail riding. Now, if you take a look at this fork, it's got some old school flair to it. You've got this little design right up here, and then the fork kind of swoops out, pushing the front wheel out just slightly. Now, this fork reminds me a lot of the Univega that I restored on this channel a few years back. And that bike was from like 1978. So this style of fork has been around for a really long time. Gives it some super nice classic lines, but they've added some bolt holes right here so you can attach all kinds of accessories like a modern gravel bike would have. Now getting in here closer to the handlebars, you're gonna get two different sizes of handlebars. On the size large, you're gonna get a 680 millimeter bar, which sounds pretty narrow, but I think it fits this style of bike really well. These bars swoop back at a nice angle, kind of giving you a little bit more of an upright feel. However, the stem is a little long on this, and I think that could be something that could be shortened up really easily. I would probably go with something that has about 20 to 30 millimeters less than the stock stem that they put on here. Now, this does come with some lock-on grips, and they do a really good job. For me personally, I feel like this bike deserves some foam grips. It just feels like that would absorb some of the vibrations a lot better with this rigid fork. You also get some nice Shimano MT200 brakes. Now, these brakes aren't the highest end brakes, but these are the same brakes that I put on the Dame whenever I attach the Jones bars. And let me tell you, they're gonna be the most reliable brakes you have ever owned. If you were gonna be putting these on a downhill bike, that would be one thing. But these brakes are on a bike that's meant for cruising around, occasionally getting up to some higher speeds going down hills, not really meant for downhill rowdiness. So in my opinion, the MT200s are a perfect application for this style of bike. And then over on this side, you are going to get that Advent X shifter. Now, one thing you may notice on this bike, and I know I did right as soon as I pulled it out of the box, is this is a straight steer tube. I was really hoping for a tapered steer tube because I wanted to put a suspension fork on this. But unfortunately, since they went old school, that really limits you on what you can add to this particular bike. However, there are some really good deals out there on straight steer tube forks that I think would make this bike really come to life, smooth it out, and allow you to ride a little bit more rowdy stuff. But if that's not your thing, leave the stock fork on there, and this thing is a blast to ride around everywhere. Now, you might be wondering what size of wheels that come on this bike. It's 27.5, and these are Continental tires that come equipped with it that are made more for trail riding and gravel riding. These are going to be 2.2 inches wide. However, I did look on their website and it looks like you can fit a little bit wider tires. One thing that's really nice on the Primos website, and I'll display it right here, is that they show all the different tire sizes and wheel sizes that will fit on this. This bike is super versatile for you to be able to add different size wheels and tires. So if you like this design, but you want more of a road bike tire, well, you could get 700C rims or 29er rims and put up to a 57 millimeter wide tire on this. And if you do that, this could be one of the most fun gravel bikes out there with flat bars. So as for the ride quality on this, I found that the bike sits up nice and straight. You feel super comfortable on it. It does get a little bit rough if you take this off-road. So just take note, this is meant for real light trail. In fact, the trail that I'm riding on here, I would say is just a little bit too much for this particular bike. And I would recommend light trail that's more green XC style trail that doesn't have a lot of roots and rocks. So if you have something that's kind of fast and flowy where you live, this would be really fun to ride. But if you primarily stick with gravel roads and city streets, I think this is going to be one of the most enjoyable bikes to ride around. Other than the straight steer tube as a downfall on this bike, there was one other thing that I was a little bit disappointed with on this bike, but I understand they wanted to keep it old school and simplistic, and that's the fact that it didn't come with any through axles, either front or back. And it has quick release on it, but that's super old school. And in my opinion, that does limit you on what kind of wheels you can add on this bike in the future. You're gonna have to really look hard to find some high quality wheels that use quick release now. They are out there, but they're not as common as through axle wheels. And that's one of the things that I really liked about the Dame, is that you were getting a $799 bike and it came with through axles, both front and back. That's why I was really shocked to see that this has quick release right out of the box, and the original bike they created had through axles. I'm not really sure where they were going with that, but I can appreciate the simplicity of it and how quick it is to take these wheels on and off. However, I do wish that at least the back of this had a through axle. That way, if I did upgrade the fork, I would have a through axle both front and back. But nonetheless, they didn't do that, and there's not really much you can do unless in the next iteration that they come out with, they do through axles. Now, the decision comes, which one would you buy if you were going to pick one of these up? Well, being that I've ridden both of these bikes stock, it's a real hard decision. If you're a flat bar person, you're definitely going to want to go with the mono. Big upgrade is the hydraulic brakes, but if you're a drop bar person, you're going to want to go with the Dame. The downfall on that is that you're going to get mechanical brakes. And me personally, I know there's a lot of argument on the internet that the mechanical brakes can be set up just as good as hydraulic. I don't buy into that one bit. Hydraulic brakes, even on the low end MT200s, are going to stomp any mechanical brake that I have ever ridden on. So there's pluses and minuses, but in the end, guys, we're looking at a $799 bike, regardless of whether you go with the Dame or the mono. I don't think you can go wrong. You just have to know exactly what you're getting into with both of these bikes. I would say the Dame is going to be more of an adventure style gravel bike, and the Mono is going to be more of a cruise around from coffee shop to coffee shop and hit up the occasional gravel road. Now you could deck this thing out and make it a true off-road adventure, but it just feels more natural to me to be on an adventure on the Dame. I'm not really sure why that is, but that's just how I personally feel. Now, if the guys at Primos are watching this, there's one thing that I really want to see from you guys. On your next bike that's going to be a flat bar, I would love to see something that's a little bit rowdy that you could really take on some trails. Maybe go with through axles, keep the same 10-speed transmission, even keep the same brakes, make the head tube a tapered head tube, and slap on an inexpensive fork. Let's get a steel mountain bike out there that's a hardtail that can really compete with some of those higher end brands at these super cheap prices. Now, I don't expect them to be able to create that type of bike for $799, but even if it went into the $1,200 range, I think a lot of people would be interested in it. The Mono is an awesome bike. The Dame is an awesome bike. Primos is doing really cool stuff with all of their bikes. So if you guys want to pick one of these up and help support a very small business, just go over their website, check them out, pick up one of these bikes. I don't get any affiliate commission from it. I just love the process that they're going through to make this happen. And the company is just two people with a vision to make fun bikes that you can ride anywhere. All right, guys, if you like this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave me a comment. And as always, get out there and ride your bike.